just microphone settings. So
Yeah,
It's fine, nice and clear.
It's really clear.
BT OpenReach updated.
You're joking. We're the final 5%, which means it's 2018 at the earliest.
Wow.
In this day and age, that is just. I mean, I'm frustrated, so I'm bound to sound off. But in this day and age, I think that's wrong.
You need to fly some kites above your news.
Yeah. I was reading about a farmer today that built his own 4G mask.
Yes, I heard about that.
Why not?
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Let me see if I can get in the chat room. Realise I'm unpacked my keyboard or my mouse.
Don't in this brave world of Windows 10, you need neither.
Yeah.
That's very true, actually, because I'm in the chat room without. Well, I will be in a second without either.
Yeah, I've got all of them. Right.
I have to abandon using my second screen.
Okay, I should be logged in. Excellent.
Welcome to episode 10.
Yes.
With no safety net.
Right. So
If only we had new builds to talk about.
yes, Jason, welcome back. Gary, we're back.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry I missed last week's show. I had some family commitments, but I really, really enjoyed listening to it. Sometimes I kind of, you think you still learn, so sometimes you kind of wish you weren't on the show every week so you could listen. But it's good to be back. I did miss it.
Yeah, it's good to. It's good to have you back. We wondered what you were doing. Wondered whether you were queuing up for your next Windows device. We weren't sure what you were up to, but now we know that you were waiting for a new build of Windows 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was probably trying to get my son's phone working again.
We've actually got two builds of Windows 10 to talk about.
Yes, we have. Did we predict that, Gary? I'm sure I did.
Yeah, I think we did actually. And I said I thought we'd get a mobile one this time. So that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, we definitely said we'd get a mobile one. And we thought we'd get it by the time the edited show was available, and we were correct on that. So, yeah, it seems like a long while ago, actually, but we did get a build last Wednesday, I think, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I'd be interested to talk about that because that had more issues than I was kind of expecting it at this stage. Now, I know that's no indicator. We know how quickly Windows 10 for desktops, how quickly that improved, but I did expect it less issues. I thought this was going to be the build that tipped me over the edge. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that. We can also talk about the new desktop build. Even though Windows is finished, it's never really done, is it?
Yeah,
yes,
this is a service.
I think we're on the threshold of something new.
Oh dear. That's out already.
It's a week away. It doesn't get any better.
Yeah. And for those listeners who do not know, the code name for Windows 10 was Threshold.
And the next one is Threshold 2.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Threshold 2 is actually an example of Windows as a service, not all these patches and updates.
Oh, yes, we could talk about that.
I won't get on my soapbox.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that as well. And there's been a lot of app updates, some of them to make things work in Windows 10.
And break things as well.
And break things, yeah. And
I'll definitely mutter about the mail and app again.
Yes, I'll join in.
Oh, okay. Well, we better get started though. So let's roll back to last week then, and the new mobile build, which we weren't shocked by that. We were expecting that, and I've got to say I was a bit like you, Jason. I thought, well, this is it now. This is the one. Remembering how Windows 10 progressed quite quickly towards the end of the Insider Build previews, I thought, yeah, this is it now. This will probably be it. But no, it had quite a large issue list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were predicting I was predicting that they might be moving on to this phase when they're doing a lot of bug fixes, and maybe they have started to do the bug fixes one, but not on this build. I did actually put it on one of my devices and I had to roll back because it just wasn't usable for me.
No, I had the kind of opposite experience, but I'll let you talk about it first, Jason. So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think And this wasn't really mentioned as an issue, was it? But I was kind of following the general chatter on Twitter with yourself, Ian, and quite a few other people, and they're all kind of saying that the download actually sat at 0% pretty much for the entire download, and then it was almost like is it downloading or isn't it? And obviously on kind of Windows 10 desktop and previous version, you normally go into the network settings and watch, see if the bytes were moving, but you obviously can't do that on a mobile device. But yeah, I think there's also some issues around. I think was it tethering wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I think there was also still maybe some potential lockout issues. I've seen quite a few people on
that's
all about.
That's what happened to me. I got locked out twice, and then basically had to reinstall it. And I said, "That's enough. I'm not doing that again."
Yeah, I think it's something to do with the TPM module, isn't it? I mean, it's there to protect you, to stop people trying to tamper with the device too much. It kind of goes into a lockdown, but I think it's a bit overly sensitive at the moment.
Yes, it does seem to be. But I mean, those things they can fix up fairly quickly. I think they seem to be having real problems with this tethering idea, and I don't know if they're trying to put more restrictions into it to satisfy the operators, because it used to work incredibly well and incredibly unrestricted. a lot of people who prevent tethering on their networks, you could actually tether with the Lumia and you couldn't tether with anything else. So maybe that's what they're trying to get around. I hope not in some ways. But tethering's something I use all the time, so I couldn't live without that.
I noticed interestingly that I know we'll talk about this later, but the release notes for the new desktop build, that also mentions that tethering isn't working. So
yeah,
I guess it must be something in the network stack that's not quite ready. I'm trying to remember what the other issues were. Just trying to bring up your post, Ian.
Well, there was a two-factor authentication.
Oh yes, on resetting, you couldn't use a mobile number to get a text message, although you could use an app or an email. But I think also there was potential of if you got too many items pinned to your home screen, that could cause an issue with the home screen not loading ever. I think where are we? The the movies and TV app wasn't working. Although I did notice that got fixed with an app update quite quickly from what I saw from you, Ian.
The way that I think I misread that into like a bit too much doom on it, really, because I thought, oh, that's it, it's not you can't use that till the next build comes out. But it was just an app update, and the app update came in a couple of hours, really.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I think that's the split between apps and operating systems is something people are going to have to get used to. It's a tricky one sometimes, especially where things were built into the operating system and are not. And
I think that's an example of why it's good that these things are split off. The fact that they can fix the application. And I think also there was also some issues with apps actually updating or installing through the store, where you had to actually uninstall them and then reinstall them again. So it's certainly when you've got, looking at your posting, you've got kind of like 6 or 7 bullet points, one of which was addressed by the app update. But even so, it does, we know from Windows 10, well, we think Windows 10 Mobile is due to be released in September timeframe. And this was about the time when Windows 10 for desktop started to get, almost non-existent issues. So I think it's and it's always difficult with mobile, isn't it? Because there isn't any real patching mechanism. It's not like they can release a few fixes through Windows Update like they can with desktops. It has to be a brand new build each time. So it's not that you can think, oh, I'll install it and then I'm sure they'll fix these, like the two-factor authentication. It's basically once you've got those issues, you're stuck with them till the next build. And I think, Ian, you've had plenty of problems upgrading between build to build, and that's really the thing that puts me off trying it.
I mean, I think once I'm up and running and they fix the video app, actually it works really well, and I'm really itching to put it on my 1520 because everything is working fine on it now, apart from the mobile hotspot, which I use a lot. So, like you, Gary, so I couldn't live without that. So I won't be putting that on. But the other stuff, really, just I haven't had any issues with. The background audio worked. I know it said that you might need to reset your device and things. But yeah, I had no issues with that. The issue for me is still the update process. I left it nearly an hour and it stayed at 0%. And then it came up with an error. And I tried it again and it did the same thing. So in the end, I was going to put it back onto Windows Phone 8.1, but the Lumia recovery tool seemed to have flushed its cache of the image So in the past, you know, you could just plug it in and it would do it straight away. This time it wanted to re-download the image, which it was taking 3 hours, even with fast broadband. So it must be, you know, their servers, how it dishes it out. I remember it from when I first used it, it's quite slow. So anyway, I just decided to do a, you know, reset job on the previous build, and I did a reset, let it finish, then check for updates, and it found the update then, and then it worked okay. But it did do that thing. It stayed on 0 for a while. I thought, oh God, I've not fixed it. But then it went to 1% after about 10 minutes, and then went to sort of 80% after 20 minutes. You know, there was and then it went to 0% of installing the update for about half an hour, and then went to sort of 90%. So it was very odd how it jumped around stages. You really did need to be patient with it. But once you get past 1% downloading, you kind of feel like, okay, I can leave it now. But anyway, so once I got it up and running, it's fine. It's just that, you know, you can't really keep resetting your phone, you know, when it's your production phone. So I'll have to wait.
I think I fell foul of the too many items on your start screen, because that seems to be, because I do have a lot of items on my start screen because I have all my mail accounts split out, and I think that's why I keep getting the crashes.
And if you did a reset, you wouldn't have them, and then it'd be all right to install.
Yeah. Which is a pain, but that's the way I got around it.
But it's getting closer, I think.
I think it is getting closer. It's just I felt them. I don't know, for some reason this one felt more. Speed was exceptional. It just, things were fluid.
And battery life.
The battery life seemed to improve vastly. So some good stuff in there, but it's just some not so good stuff as well.
You can tell how the battery life, because it's not got a SIM card in, so battery does last quite a while anyway. But I was finding sort of you could, you know, I'd do after I'd done the reset and did all my testing and everything, and sort of left it for 2 days over the weekend and come back to it. It's still on 70% battery. You know, it really had that long battery life like you used to get on Windows Phone 8.1, really, on a clean install. So I think they're back to the battery levels of.
Well, I was actually seeing longer battery life. I mean, admittedly, I possibly wasn't using it as much, so that's always a slight change. But on the machine I was using it on, it seemed to be getting half a day longer battery life than I previously got. Just something I actually noticed generally on Windows 10, even on desktop build, my Lynx tablet's definitely getting a lot longer battery usage.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think just since one of the updates, I think from the RTM build, and then one of the updates, things are just so much better now. I mean, I don't know. Looking at my tablet here, it's going to get about 5 hours, so that's probably about average. But I've been seeing my Encore 8 getting sort of 8 hours, you know, which is usually it's more like 5 to 6.
Yeah, and the Lynx used to always, when I came back to it, it was dead. And now it's always alive, and I haven't charged it for a week, and it's still running. it's crazy. So yeah, I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing is just looking really nice now. I definitely get to that stage where I want to get this installed and up and running on my 1520. The installation issues and the hotspot thing, just a couple of things. So maybe the next one or the next but one, and we're getting close to them.
Yeah, well, we know how fast they move with the Windows 10 stuff, the base desktop stuff. So I suspect we'll suddenly see that as well. I hope we do.
Yeah,
I think it'd be interesting to see if we see the same release cadence that we saw with Windows 10 as it kind of raced towards the finish line.
I think we will actually. I think we'll see certainly that sudden boom of stuff going forward.
Yeah. They still haven't talked about dates, really, have they? I know IFA's coming up, which I know you and Ian were talking about last week, and whether or not we'll see new devices announced then, I don't know. But I mean, certainly. The only talk I've heard is kind of September as a very general time frame.
Mm-hmm. I think that's still the same, and there's definitely talk now that IFA won't have any phones other than maybe third-party ones being shown. So, and it sounds like the new announcements are all going to be around desktops and laptops from rumours I've been hearing. Although they've said that before and surprised us, so that's possible. But
the rumours are of a separate event, aren't they, from the new phones? But maybe that is a time to show it off. But what we haven't seen that I'd like to see is a 7-inch tablet with mobile on it.
Yeah.
And no, they've not talked about anything to do with that. And so, I wonder even if anybody will bother producing one. It's a bit like, not quite as bad as RT, but you know what I mean, a very niche product, a 7-inch tablet with. So whether anybody will do that, I mean, when you can buy a 7-inch Link 7 for 60 quid, I can't imagine that a 7-inch one winning mobile it will match that price. So you kind of wonder where the market is for that. I mean, so I'd like one, but just checking this on Core 8. Yeah, it's nearly 7 hours of battery life. Yeah,
pretty good, isn't it?
I guess the one benefit of Windows 10 Mobile is that manufacturers could potentially release an ARM-based 7-inch tablet, and we know, I guess, from the Android tablets that there is a potential market for that. But then really you kind of come back to the same issues, and all three of us hope that this gets better over time, particularly with Windows 10 Mobile supporting the Android and potentially iOS applications. So maybe in 6 months' time, the app gap will be a kind of put to rest once and for all. But you can certainly see I'd quite like a fully kind of locked down Windows 10 Mobile tablet of that kind of size.
I'd just put a SIM card in it and call it a phone.
You would.
Yeah, you would. That's
well, it's a bit small for you, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you want the 8-inch version, don't you? Really, which obviously wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason you couldn't put phone hardware into a Windows desktop PC, because it's been done before, and you've obviously got Skype calling already, so just need someone to write a phone calling app. So yeah, there's lots of possibilities with this stuff.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, just coming back to the stability of this build for a moment, the one thing we do know, obviously, with the build number jumping and now that tying in with this new Windows Insider desktop preview, that they have switched branches. So they're now on to the Threshold 2 release, with Windows 10 kind of being Threshold 1. So that could also explain some of the slight drop in stability if they have jumped branches.
Yeah, it certainly could do. I mean, although that wouldn't normally. It depends when they've gone, where they've jumped to, I guess. Phone didn't seem to have any new features as such, unless you spotted any in. But I didn't see anything new.
No, there was just fixes.
Yeah, so you wouldn't expect that to cause problems. It's usually when you introduce features, you get more bugs coming in. Obviously, the desktop build, which we'll obviously go on to, has got some features in it, new features on it, and they could introduce problems, and one of them particularly could introduce problems. But generally, I would have thought that the phone build shouldn't have really had an impact from the change.
Yeah, and I also think that in terms of Windows 10 Mobile being, kind of reaching release, that the upgrade process is going to be critical. That so far the Windows 10 rollout's gone so well, but phones are that much more tricky. And as you say, you tend to have quite a lot of apps and pictures and things that you've kind of gathered over the years, that you want to keep that. I mean, I've got game progress, and while it's not the end of the world to lose that, they're games that I've kind of done in-app purchases, and I'd like to keep them rolling forward. So if I can, my aim is going to be to upgrade to Windows 10 Mobile without having to do a reset of my phone.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, particularly now that you won't have the option to restore your previous settings. If you do have to reset your Windows 10 Mobile device, you're going to be resetting up tiles and
not necessarily. No.
Okay, go on then.
Because I noticed when I did a refresh, it allowed me to pick a previous build to restore, or a previous backup to restore.
That's interesting. So that actually does exist in the mobile branch, but
I chose not to. But it had. I mean, there's about 15 of them now. So, but there's my 1520 various builds of that. There's been the ones I've been testing. 725. And, they're done by name, so I could do a refresh on this build now, and then pick one of the other builds. Now, what I haven't tried is how that works when you're resetting, restoring a backup from 8.1 onto this one, but it did let me do it because I could have picked the my 1520 setup. So yeah, that is in there. Although it's not in the PC, it is there in the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's a carryover from 8.1 that they're going to get rid of that at some point, or I don't know, but it's certainly you can do it now.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope they don't. I mean, that's one of the features that I've requested through the feedback app for Windows 10 on desktops and PCs to regain that facility. I certainly understand with different form factors, you don't always want the same home, start screen layout, but I think I'd like the option at least to have that as a starting point.
Maybe I'll test that at some point.
Yeah.
See how that works. But yeah, so that could be an option. But even so, it's a bit of a pain having to do a refresh. But the issues that I've had back in installing the new builds have always been from a preview build to preview build.
Mm-hmm.
The times that I've had real problems installing a preview build, I've gone back to 8.1 and then got the new build without any issues. So it's not as bad as it would appear. It doesn't appear that it appears that there's issues, but I think if you're on 8.1, then so far I haven't had any problems going from 8.1 to 10. I've only had issues from 10 to 10.
Okay, well, that is definitely reassuring then.
Yeah. So I think really it's only the hotspot thing. If that was okay, I'd probably put my 1520.
Yeah, I think if the hotspot was there and I didn't have this problem with too many tiles, which I can't really get around because I've got so many email accounts. I don't know if it's specifically related to email accounts, but because every single one of my clients of mine tend to want to give me an email account on their own system. I've got so many of those, and I do need to keep track of them. That's a problem for me. So at the moment, I would like to see those two fixed, and I think if they did fix that, then the performance is definitely there. Everything else, stability, other than those bits, seem to be there. So, yeah, I would certainly give it. I'll give it a go on the next build.
Yeah, the next build.
Yeah, the next one.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to trying it now as well. Yeah, so that was the new mobile build that we got last week, and I did record a video of it, but there's not a huge amount of changes to see, but I'll have a look at that. I'll include a link in the show notes for that. And then tonight we've got a new, just Tuesday as we record Tuesday evening, we've had a new desktop build.
Yep. Yeah. So this is the first again on that new path, the new branch with for the what's going to be the Threshold 2 release later in the year. I don't know what I should call that for the public, but it's obviously as Windows as a service, it will just come through potentially as another update. But this is going to be actually start to have new features in it, and we're starting to see some of those in this build.
Yeah. Now, the release notes don't really talk about a lot. I mean, the release notes say there's new color options. Have you seen this yet?
No, but I've seen. I haven't actually managed to get this to download yet. It's been sitting waiting for about the last 4 hours. So, but I have seen it on I think Windows Central put up a post.
Yeah,
showing the option. So,
well, I can't see any changes. I've got it. I've got it on my Surface here with the old build, the RTM, and I've got it here on Core 8, and the options are identical. So, but so is the screenshot from Gable's post to get the.
Yeah, I saw that.
If you look at the screenshot, it's just the same as what's that's in Windows. So I don't think it's. I'm not sure if it's a new feature.
The differences are very subtle. I think if you look at Gabe's post, you've got in settings under colors, where you've got the kind of preview of your desktop. I think the title bar actually does that change color as well all the way across.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the same picture on my own. Oh God, no, hang on. That's my own Core 8. It's the same as Gabe's picture. Let me try this on the Surface.
So my sample window's it's got a coloured corner, but then the actual title bar stays grey.
Oh yeah. So has it actually made a difference?
It's very subtle, but
well, that's blue. Maybe that's white. Okay, so I just launched the store. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm getting very confused here. We've got 3 devices. That's the. I better take it out of tablet mode because I don't think you're going to see it in tablet mode. Are you? So if I launch the store now on my own Core 8 as opposed to the Surface, yes, that's it. Yeah. It's the title bar has lost the white.
Yeah, so subtle you might miss it.
So it's not. It's what I was about to say. It's not a new setting. It's a implementation.
Yeah. And I'm not sure I like that. I quite like the way it is currently. So I want to be able to change those colours without changing that title bar. But
It's not on like the Mail app. Retains its dark blue.
yeah, it's not on all of them. is it?
Tweetium is blue and white. Movies is blue and white. Edge is grey.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not on everything.
It's the foreground app. Instead of being grey, is blue.
Yeah, the foreground app comes to whatever colour you've chosen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's subtle.
because I must admit,
very
that-
subtle.
yeah, I mean that's one thing that I find with Windows 10 that in the olden days, Windows 7 and before, you knew which was the active window by the title bar being different. Whereas on Windows 10, it's very much it's
Yeah,
difficult
that's
to know which ones.
I thought that bit I can see as an advantage, but I quite like the way it looks.
Oh, actually, I like this now. File Explorer is blue. 'Cause I got it in blue.
Also, if you check for app updates, you'll notice there's an update to the store as well, which I don't know if that came out earlier today or
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if you're in
maybe that's
tablet
to
mode,
fix
by the way,
maybe
you
that's
don't
to fix the store issue.
in tablet mode, you don't see any of the changes of colour. It's only for the desktop mode.
So it's colour.
Yeah,
Which makes sense. That you'd expect that. So,
Yeah.
So I've been sitting here since the announcement for Game, which how many hours ago was that? 3 or 4? And I'm still at 1% on downloading this update. So I think it's going to take a while. Now, the other thing that is quite a big change in this version is the way they're handling memory paging, and this is sort of a bit technical. But they're starting to use a new technique. One of the things which some operating systems have used is the ability to compress pages of memory in memory. Sounds a bit complex. The problem up to now has been the lack of CPU power basically available to do this. Windows 10 is much leaner and it's actually got a bit of leftover CPU. And on devices where they can, they're actually taking an approach now that instead of paging memory off to disk when you run out of space in your real physical memory, they're going to first try and compress the pages down into a compressed page store, which will fit in your system area. So it's like a first stage of paging and then a second stage of paging, because they actually now think they can compress quicker than they can save to disk, which used to be something which wasn't. And that should actually mean you see a general performance increase throughout the whole of this build of Windows 10, if it works.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see where that's important. I mean, I think you touched on this last week that Tesco's have got a new, I think 8-inch Windows 10 tablet out, which only comes with I think a gig of RAM.
Yep.
Which history tells you that's not enough for Windows. Normally you're looking for devices with a minimum of 2, hopefully 4. But I guess that's where this becomes really important.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, the compression algorithm they're using hasn't been announced or anything like that. But someone I know told me on the slide that they were getting 16 pages of memory in 16 5 gig 12 meg pages into a 1 meg space, a 1 gig space. Sorry. I'll get that's confusing, but that's a lot of pages compressed down in a very small space. So potentially that gives you a lot of performance benefits on these lower-end machines.
I wonder how much. I wonder if they've used kind of any learning, because I know, modern versions of SQL Server that can compress pages in memory and only expands them when they're actually read. So I guess I'd imagine it's using some kind of similar technology.
Yeah.
And writing to disk is so expensive in sort of performance, isn't it, compared to memory?
Yeah, and particularly with some of the slow. So SSD drives are great to read from, but the flash SSD ones are slow to write to, and actually sometimes slower than physical disk to write to. So paging on those devices, which a lot of the low-end devices are using flash SSD. Well, not
That's
actually.
EMC.
EMC, yeah. It's basically it's like a memory. It's an SD card effectively internally, and we know how slow some of those can be to write to, and that actually can have real bad performance knock-ons. I mean, it's great for reading from, but writing to it is really slow. So if you're paging stuff out all the time, it can be a real issue, and this should hopefully resolve that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, I used going back many years, showing our ages, but I remember, when we used to use like Windows 98 or Windows 95 even for gaming, I was used to use, try and separate off the Windows swap file and actually install games onto different spindles, and because the swap file could really impact performance when it starts right into the operating system drive.
Yeah, we used to have
So-
things called RAM disks, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah. M386 load high.
Yeah, and that's basically a similar principle. The idea.
Yes, I guess. Yeah.
So it's a good use of RAM. I mean, I think it's definitely going to be a benefit on those devices who've got a lot of RAM on 64-bit. That's going to make it an interesting concept, which becomes almost a thing of the past.
I mean, this Encore 8, it's pretty snappy anyway, and it's got 2 gig of RAM.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's I'm all for that.
But as I said, this is something which is, I mean, it's probably not given enough emphasis in the release notes how fundamentally different this is. And it's going to be interesting to see how it works and if there's any problems with it.
Yeah, because I thought that's an interesting, for the first post release build, that's an odd new feature, and it's probably strangely enough, it's a feature that when it actually gets down to consumers, they're probably not going to have any even need to know about it. It's just one of those hidden parts of the operating system, and we're kind of used to looking for new features that are visually different or that provide a new new functionality in some way. So it's quite an interesting feature to get in the first post release build.
Yeah, and I think it's as Ian says, if it suddenly gives you that burst of performance on those small end devices, which are already pretty good, it's going to suddenly be a point that people are going to say, "Oh, this new update makes my device run faster," and that's going to get good word of mouth out there. So I can certainly see it as an advantage in that respect.
I was hoping to get the new messaging stuff in there so I can get rid of the desktop Skype.
Yeah, but that'd be apps.
Yeah.
Over and above the fact that they do need some messaging bits in the core to work, it's basically going to be apps and have more app downloads. So can me and Jason get on high horses about the Mail app now?
Oh,
But just one quick comment there. Interesting enough, I think just the final word of this technology. It's interesting. Us technical enthusiasts kind of really buck against the low-end devices, but this is really, this is where it's going to be a key driver, isn't it? It's going to be those low-cost devices.
Yeah. I think low-end devices are the key for Windows 10. They really are. I mean, if you can get the penetration, it was interesting to see that going off a complete tangent again, the whole CIO stuff in the States, where they're saying we're moving to Windows 10 devices rather than iPads because we get a load more for the money. And that I think is huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think these low-cost devices are great value for money. I mean, one thing I was going to mention tonight is that the impending release of a pair of new devices from Lynx, who I've got a Lynx 7 and really love that little device. Gary, you've got a Lynx 8 and I know you're quite happy with that, but they're bringing out a Lynx 810 and a Lynx 1010.
Yeah.
And I think the 810 is available next week on pre-order now on Amazon for £99, and it's a slight spec bump. I think it's just got the faster Atom processor.
It has. It's a nice bit of kit actually. That for the money really is a nice bit of kit. But the other good things about that is it means that if any Lynx 8s out there, particularly in Staples, are going to be discounted quite heavily fairly shortly.
And of course, and these ship with Windows 10 as well.
Yes.
But and the 10-inch one comes with the keyboard. I think I just saw a link to it. I haven't gone into it yet, but I think you get a keyboard with the 10-inch one, which is 190 quid or 170.
Yeah,
something like that.
179 quid.
Yeah. Windows 10-inch tablet. I mean, you can get 2 or 3 of those before you get an iPad.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't actually see the listing saying it had a keyboard, but I guess.
Yeah, it's got a keyboard on there. I did see that. I'll dig it out.
Yeah.
But and then you've got that Tesco's one.
Yeah. I mean, this one blows the Tesco's one out of the water.
It does, yeah.
Spec, so it's good. 1 gig. I mean, in fact, it's 1 gig of RAM's a little bit.
Yeah, it's got.
But
yeah, that's the one. Although it's got 2 gig of RAM. The
10, yeah.
The 10, yeah. Oh, so's the. Oh, yeah, that's the 1010. Yeah, I'm looking at that, and it says there's 2 listings for it actually. One doesn't mention the keyboard, and one does. It says with detachable keyboard.
Good. I mean, that's a good laptop replacement. But I think that generally I think that we're going to see a lot of good devices coming out. I'm getting invites to quite a few things for IFA where there's some very cheap Windows 10 devices appearing.
Yeah, and just a nice range of devices. I think that's a thing.
That's a good thing.
Now, go on, Jay.
I was just to say, Gary, before you can talk about the mail app, you need to fix your account.
What?
Drives me mad, that message.
Oh yes, I get that.
Yeah, go on then, Gary. You
I
start.
need to fix my. Well, I'd love to fix my account in mail, but it's actually been eaten by the mail app. One of my mail accounts I cannot get into now. It just if I go to the accounts and try and click on that account, it takes me to another account randomly. Ever since the new update, and I've reinstalled the account, I've added it back on, always does it. Drives me crazy.
I had that in one of the builds where it wouldn't show my email from the main Microsoft account. So and you can't add a Microsoft account. You can't add your Microsoft account. You can add another one, but and if you try and add my Microsoft one, it just said you've already got that one, even though it wouldn't show me emails. But that I've not got that in any of the current builds.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really fun, and I can understand it for but the fact I delete the account and add a new copy of it in, and it does it. In fact, I've even tried adding 2 copies of it in, so I've got just a slightly different name, and now both of them they go straight to another account. How difficult is it to do a mail system?
Especially after, I mean, Windows 8 when it launched had a pretty iffy mail app. I mean, I kind of gone on with it okay, but and then suddenly I think with Windows 8.1 they released and updated, and it was finally usable, and it's almost like they've just gone back to the drawing board. The thing that frustrates me is there's no obvious way to know which accounts have got unread mail without going into each of them, and then you have to refresh it, because I don't find it particularly well at refreshing in the background.
Oh, there's a trick for that. You can pin them individually to the start bar. Start menu.
Which I've done, but of course now you don't have a full screen start menu. I tend not to sit on the start menu like I would have done in Windows 8.
Actually, I have worked that one out now. I use a notification center rather than look at the mail, because at least in the notification center you do get to see new mail coming in. So that one I'm reasonably happy with. But yeah, this whole this stability on this mail app, because it still crashes all the time as well.
Yes.
And 90% of the people I've spoken to who upgraded to Windows 10 cannot get their mail accounts in the thing. I actually, that's not a stat I've thrown out the air. I actually worked that out. It's 90% of the people I've spoken to have not been able to get at least one of their mail accounts working in this new mail app. That's atrocious.
I found an issue with it as well. So I'm sat here at home now, and all my accounts are working fine. When I go into the office and use our firewalled network, it doesn't work. It won't talk to my Gmail account at all, but neither will my 630 running Windows 10, but my 1520 running Windows 8.1 has no problem at all. It's some kind of something to do with certificates and ports and things like that our corporate firewall just lets port 80 out for browsing, and it's something to do with that. I'm not pinned it down exactly, but like I said, I'm sat at home now, it's fine, but I don't get any email to my Gmail account when I'm in the office, and I come home and they all arrive. But previous Windows 8.1 never had that issue.
I mean, I know they were trying to pair the two up between the phone and the thing. The interesting thing is, when I tried that phone release, I didn't have any of these problems. So I don't know quite what's going on, but there's something fundamental. I mean, I don't know how. I know there's so many different types of mail accounts out there, and it's really difficult to do this, but there's very few mail apps out there which have these sort of problems, and Microsoft have got one of the best mail apps out there in Outlook. And how they can not produce a decent mail app, it frustrates the hell out of me. It really does.
That's another point. Actually, sorry, Jess, just to finish up. That on my Nexus and my iPad using the Outlook app, I get my Gmail in the Outlook app. Not a problem. It's only my Windows 10 devices it doesn't work on anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. They need to fix it. They need to fix it.
The other thing that really annoys me is how bad the HTML rendering is. When I get emails where I can see the header, but then I have to scroll right to actually see the content of the email message.
Yeah,
it's just all over the place. And I know Mary Jo Foley complains the fact she can't turn off conversation view, which I think is it's important.
So many people hate conversation view.
It's crazy. Windows is supposed to be about being able to customize and have things the way you want it, and just the synchronization, and I keep getting told to fix my account if I leave it running in the background.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just,
the one
uh,
that's really the other thing which really annoys me on this is how long it takes to download images or download anything attachments.
Yeah.
Because on, I mean, this Windows 8 mail account had a little bit of this problem as well. But I get stuff sent to me all the time, particularly images which are used for putting into apps, and I actually had an image which I was able to go to the source on the OneDrive it was been sent from and download it from in about 12 seconds, and it took almost an hour to come in on the mail on the download. And that's just like, what is it doing? I've got a super fast broadband here. It's not like I'm not like I'm in Jason land. It's just, I mean, I can't see why things take that long to download. It makes no sense to me at all.
No, and when you think about this, is email is a fundamental part of any system, and this is the what people are exposed to, and I thought this was why they bought Acompli. I thought,
yeah,
thought
I did as well.
But
and Acompli used to work really well on that platform.
Yeah, you think? I mean, I think what I've read that they are committing, aren't they, to regular updates, and it is a separate application, but it does just feel like we've gone all the way back. We kind of went through the pain of Windows 8 as it slowly got improved to the point where it was kind of pretty usable, pretty reliable, and now we've gone back to the drawing board.
I honestly don't understand. Well, I do understand why they tried to bring the two in line, but why they couldn't think to themselves, we need to make this feature compatible and feature with the previous version and actually do everything the previous version did. I mean, the fact we didn't have print until about the last build was great. It was crazy, but anyway, I mean, it is the one thing I really dislike about Windows 10, and it's actually one thing which is actually preventing me recommending it to some people at the moment.
The other two major gripes I have is, given how well so many applications, and Tweetium is a brilliant example of how it synchronized its settings across devices. And I've, initially after Windows 10 launch, I went through about 2 or 3 times I reinstalled Windows 10 clean, and every time I had to reset my signatures. Every time in the calendar app I had to reset the colors of the calendar.
Yeah.
It's just like, surely they can sync this stuff. It's not difficult.
Yeah. I don't know.
Drives me mad. But the actual, I will say one thing. Since the 29th of July, with what we've seen, pretty much a weekly cumulative update, release. While Windows 10 at release was pretty brilliant for me, there were some issues around the Surface Pro 3 in terms of CPU usage, reliability of waking from sleep sometimes. But since that cumulative update, in particular the one just last weekend that came out, last Tuesday with the normal patch Tuesday cycle, I've really noticed, and I think I tweeted something to that effect, that it's almost happened silently, if that makes sense, that it's just suddenly got better and better.
Yeah.
And that is the way it should be. But now I don't hear the fan constantly coming on the Surface Pro 3. I don't see the high CPU usage. It's considering I didn't, if I'd sat down, I probably couldn't have really labeled what was wrong with it, but I just feel like it's so much better in that short time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I actually keep a long-term monitor of the core temperature usage on my PC, and average it, just because I actually found that a really good example idea of how really realistic the performance of the CPUs is, how much it's actually really using. Because if it loses a lot, the temperature goes up and tends to stay up and stick up, rather than sort of like the peaks and troughs you can get. And I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I was getting about 50 degrees as my average. After that last patch, the averages have been around about the 46 mark. So it's actually using. It must be using a lot less CPU to have that much difference in the average temperature. And obviously that's going to affect how often your fans come on, because I don't hear my fan coming on the desktop PC hardly at all now. So it's, I think, I mean, they've obviously done some really good work in those patches.
Yeah, and also to come back to what you and Ian were saying earlier on, I've seen improvements in battery life on the Surface Pro 3. Not that I tend to use it on battery very much, but the few times I have, I certainly noticed that the percentage is looking a lot better. And also, you kind of get through quite a few kind of post-setup teething problems. So the first time you set up applications like the music app where it's scanning for your music, or the pictures app where it's scanning and kind of doing all the picture enhancements, that can be quite CPU intensive. And once they've done those tasks, that kind of settles down quite nicely.
Actually, that's a good point about this memory compression thing I was talking about earlier for this new build. That would actually should really improve battery life, because writing to disk is one of the most battery intense things you can do.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that.
So I think that should, so particularly on older laptops with hard drives into them, that should be a major impact.
And just anecdotal, evidence from people I've talked to. Everybody seems to be enjoying the Windows 10 upgrade. People, Windows 8 skeptics that have upgraded really like it, and I've not had anybody saying they're rolling back to Windows 7 or Windows 8 so far. I mean, I've had a few people. I get a lot of comments on the blog. People say I'm staying with Windows 8.1 because of Windows Media Center, which is understandable. But I've not really had anybody, real users I've talked to, have that issue.
Yeah, I was upgrading some friends over the weekend, and despite the fact I couldn't move one of them on because their mail account wasn't going to work, the rest of them were. Everything was someone who really hated Windows 8 with an absolute passion actually likes this a lot. So I think it was an abnormal hating that he didn't actually understand what Windows 8 was, but really, and loves the things like the fact it gets news on this line, and liked the default layout of the start menu and things like that. So yeah, all good stuff.
I think I mean, certainly, if you read the news coverage, I mean, Windows 8, it was all pretty negative. I mean, obviously, there was people like us, I quite took to Windows 8 to the point where I've found some things difficult to relearn, how Windows 10 works. But when you look at the reviews and the articles that are flying around, none of them are criticizing the interface. They're not criticizing the stability. It's all kind of blowing smoke around this, privacy issues, or I think, whether or not you would eventually end up paying for Windows 10 in the future, and but not even to the point where I haven't really seen much discussion around missing apps. It's all kind of non-issues really. I think the other one was around about the Wi-Fi sharing, which is so easy to turn off.
I mean, this whole privacy thing is totally blown out of proportion. Yes, of course, everything sends back data. I mean, who thinks their iPad doesn't send back data to Apple when all the privacy stuff's turned off? Because it's non-identifiable data, and you don't have to ask permission for that. It's just, it's a crazy. I mean, every app you install on an iPhone, the developer knows you've installed it.
Yes.
Do we hear complaints about that? I find this whole thing, like, I want to know when there's genuine privacy issues. I don't want a cry-wolf situation where we've got so blasé about all these privacy issues being reported which aren't, that we're not there when we actually have a genuine one.
I think unfortunately it is a case that just like there are sites out there that like to attack Apple and attack Android, I think attacking Microsoft, particularly historically, has been an easy target. And while I would, I think we've seen some privacy software release to fix Windows 10 that is actually just either a virus or some kind of key logging software that you really don't want to install. So from that negative element of those stories, but I think, as I say, the flip side of that is that that's the only thing they've got to attack, and if that's the only criticism of Windows 10,
exactly true. Yeah.
I think it is so positive. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I always leave all the feedback stuff switched on, partly because I'm a Windows insider, and partly because I know crash reports and everything. That's why it's been improved so quickly over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you want, turn off the advertising ID. But it does, as you say, it's easy to knock Android. It is not necessarily more insecure, but unfortunately it's less patched on existing devices. But Google makes their money from advertising. They do openly, read emails to give you targeted advertisements, whereas Microsoft might scan your emails to stop spam and protect you. They're not going to use that data to target you with advertising.
Yep. Of course, we don't actually know what the next version of Android is going to be called now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, mushroom, isn't it?
No, marshmallow, which is even worse than mushroom.
Yeah, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah,
quite a few people tweeted Dan Aykroyd naming it.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant picture of Dan Aykroyd just in that moment where he thinks of the Stay Puft Man. But, yeah. Yeah, that was interesting conversation we had last week about Android. We once wondered, is Android emulation on Windows Phone a more secure way of running Android?
Don't get Andy Van Til on this one, and we'll be here for weeks.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, Andrew made some excellent points. We were talking about this on Twitter, and yes, and like I kind of tried to say a moment ago, Android isn't necessarily less secure, but unfortunately, it's just not patched. So many devices out there still running, older versions of Android, but. And you reminded me, actually, because I didn't mean to address this, because I was listening to you chatting about this on last week's show, that one of the questions that I have is, while Android apps will be able to be ported across and run almost natively on Windows 10, is Microsoft still going to curate those apps into the store?
I don't actually know. I mean, we can sideload them, which obviously means you could put anything you like on your phone thing, but that's obviously your choice if you do that.
Yes.
I think they're expect. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I would. I mean, the ones we've seen so far are in the store, and therefore would go through the certification process because they have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's true. I think I can't see any way that the general distribution of them will be that done that way. I mean, it's actually a lot easier to sideload Windows 10 apps generally than it used to be. So I think people will do a lot more of that to get around the restrictions.
Although those people are probably more likely to understand and be able to mitigate the risks.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Yeah.
So I think generally, I think it's a good idea. I mean, there's a lot of rubbish been talked about this Android things. I mean, people assuming that they can port any app across and it's just going to work, which obviously it won't. Especially with some of the lax restrictions to some of the operating system stuff. But and some of it being very different between the platforms. But generally, it does seem to work quite well. I've pushed a couple of our apps that we've written in Android straight onto it, and it worked out of the box quite happily. But they weren't using any key operating system features; they were doing other things. But
a few people have claimed to have had the Google Play Store working, and I don't know how reliable they are. But if that's the case, then theoretically you could get anything.
Yeah, but those apps wouldn't actually work. That's what I'm saying. They wouldn't.
Yeah, because they rely on core Android features.
Yeah. So I mean, it's easy enough to get the idea of getting an app store up and running as being a big thing is really not, because an app store is basically just a website. Downloading stuff is what happens when you actually get those things down and whether they actually run and install properly. A lot of them will. I mean, you can imagine a lot of the games running. You can imagine a lot of stuff. But when you start getting into things like use Bluetooth, for example, or use some of the more complex audio, that they may not work. Without the tweaks, and things which use the Google Play services will definitely need the tweaks. But it's certainly a very big step forward for that porting side.
Because that's generally the other risk with Android, isn't it? That Google don't curate their store in the same way that Apple and Microsoft do. So I think that would be my hope, that Microsoft will still certify these apps into the store and thereby give you some level of confidence that they're not keyloggers, they're not reporting data back directly to the developer and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And did you see the report that said about 50 million? I think it was Neil when he reported it about and WinBeta, about 50 million people running Windows 10 now. I think that sounds
good.
Right.
That sounds about right to me.
I know Ed Bott was saying, wasn't he, that his stats are quite good in that regard. And
yeah, mine are really high on Windows 10 usage, although Google still doesn't report it correctly in Google Analytics. Every now and again, it reports a few Windows 10 users. It's something like 0.1%, which I know it's not true because you've got all these NT users. So I don't think people have started dragging their NT4 workstations out of the cupboard just to go on TDL.
I don't know, why not? But yes, I certainly from my app download side of things, I would say that there's been a lot more Windows 10 users out there. So I think, it's only good. It's interesting. I don't know if you saw. My brain has just gone. The name of the app has escaped me, but the YouTube download app for Windows mobile.
Right, well, YouTube downloader or something. I don't know what that will be.
I'll try and. I'm digging up the article while we speak, but basically, it's hit a very significant mark in terms of number of downloads. So, which is pretty significant. I'm just desperately trying to find it so I can actually. can't find the article now, which is that's it. Tubecast.
Yeah, because I saw an update for that today. Actually, yeah.
1 million downloads.
That's a lot of, and that's that's a phone app, isn't it? That's
There's
the phone
phone app. Yeah. So they do have apps for the other mobile platforms, but and they've picked up a lot in the last few weeks as well. So I think that's pretty significant. I mean, I've not seen a Windows app get anywhere close to that before. So that's really starting to become that's a market people actually want to be in.
And it's make it universal.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting that's got that far.
And also Microsoft, they're doing that thing of, like we said earlier, about splitting the app updates out. So they're keeping up with the updates. Like, so we had a store update, but we also had the Groove, the music app, updated today with some new features for the phone.
Yes, it's quite interesting. Does that mean we have to change the book again?
I'm afraid so. Yeah, actually, that's something we mentioned that. Do you remember, Jason, the Lumia Play 2 app?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that you can't install that on Windows 10 Mobile. It just says this is not supported.
That played to DLNA receivers, didn't it?
Yeah. So that was a nice section in the book. So whether it's going to come back or not, I don't know. But I've got an alternative ending to the book. So it's like those TV series where they film multiple endings. Me and Gary have got multiple endings to our book.
Yeah. Because the Xbox, they added DLNA receiver onto the Xbox One, didn't they?
Yeah. But there's no way without a third-party app of streaming audio or pictures. You can use the movie app, film and TV app, but you can't do it from music and you can't do it from pictures. So it's a bit of a hole, really. In fact, that leads me to a post that in fact, this is what prompted that post. Like I did last week, is Microsoft killing off DLNA support in Windows 10 or with Windows 10? In fact, it's in one app out of all of them. It used to be across most of the OS, and in Windows Media Player, going back further, it was really well supported. So is this Microsoft just end of the road for Windows for DLNA support in Windows?
It certainly does seem to be getting more and more buried, and I think Microsoft particularly seems to be adopting the Miracast technology, which while it works, I'm not a massive fan of it because it's not a handoff. I just wonder whether or not what they're really doing is, because I know that the what was the Xbox Music, now Groove Music, you could be playing a music on one device, and actually if you go to the Xbox One and load up the Xbox or the music application, it would actually start playing the same songs, and movies obviously pick up from where you left them off. So I wonder if that's kind of the way they see that as the way forward, that you wouldn't use DLNA to then play something on something else, but you could just load up the app and it remembers where you were, kind of that cross device synchronization and single, obviously the universal Windows application.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is we still have got that in the Movies app, because you'd think if they were going to get rid of it, they'd get rid of it everywhere, then they wouldn't have to pay the license. So I don't know. I mean, it seems an odd omission from the music line thing, because there's an awful lot of DLNA receivers out there, and not having that ability to go to them seems a little bit odd from the music app. And
not being able to access servers as well. I mean, even the video app, there's no way. In Windows Media Player, you can browse other Windows Media Player and DLNA servers on your home network, but with the video app doesn't.
It does seem a bit of an odd admission. I don't know. I mean, we have got dial support, as we mentioned.
I think that's it. Yeah.
It was Chippy's post, which we mentioned. I think we mentioned that on last week's show.
You did, yeah.
That's a really good post about it. So I think recommend people to look at that. But I mean, I did have Dial demonstrated to me last year, which I haven't been able to talk about until it became public. So at the MVP summit, and it worked brilliantly. So I think it's going to be quite a something which will be very useful once we get people to know it's there. But again, that's more a video approach than it is music, and doesn't seem to be a real example of what they're going to do with music, particularly on multi-room streaming. I know we've got the whole Sonos integration coming along, so that seems to be definitely an improvement. But you wonder if they've the whole Qualcomm stuff they've got built into the operating system, some home automation standards they brought in, which has got audio as part of that standard for multi-room. Maybe that's what they're going to go with. I don't know. It does seem an odd mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least we can play DVDs.
You've got the app.
I heard you talking about that. I know, and I know Josh Pollard mentioned it on Entertainment 2.0. The one thing I wanted to say, just to add to that kind of conversation, was that I haven't heard anybody really mention is sometimes companies price things so high because they don't want you to buy it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want it having huge numbers. They don't want to necessarily support it long term. So that was my kind of, I know you, Gary, you quite rightly pointed out, obviously, the licensing costs of the DVD playback codecs, but I wondered if it was set so high to put people off buying it.
And then they can say, "See, no one bought it."
Yeah, and I know that's the model that apologies, I can't remember his name, but the guy that writes the Tweetium app, that was his way. He said very early on, this is going to be the way I avoid the Twitter API limit, or sorry, token limit. I'll eventually make the app £100. You know, when I start running out of tokens, and if you want to pay £100 for it, you're welcome, kind of thing. And to price it to the point where nobody buys it, so nobody ever downloads it to know that there aren't any tokens available.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it is. I mean,
there's so many hoops to actually get the application. There's so many hoops to jump through,
and there's so many easier ways of doing it.
Yeah, and if you were an insider, I really doubt you've still got that change in place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's plenty of other ways of getting video playback. You know, buying it behind a power DVD, VLC. You know, there's plenty of other ways of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's a physical DVD as well, isn't it? It's not even like you could use ISOs or.
No, that's right. Yeah, you better set
DVD rips.
You better hang it on, wait until later this year, buying a book, Entertainment Apps for Windows 10, and finding out how to do it then.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, buy 10 copies.
Yes, that would be appreciated. If
one for work, one for home, one for the car, one for the train.
And all family as well. They're
yeah, and actual fact, all those locations would be very useful to have the book.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's on the go.
Absolutely. And obviously with Christmas only 4 months away, you know.
Exactly.
A great Christmas idea. Oh well, we shouldn't plug our own so much, but we will.
Yeah, just wait till it's available. You've seen nothing yet.
I always wait till Service Pack 1 before I buy a book.
Well, you don't have to wait because that was a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? I mean, we've run out of time now, but I think this issue with people moaning about updates is a non-issue. You know, the cumulative updates, Microsoft put up the updates whenever they want, as long as we don't have to get massive, huge updates that take hours to come. The way that they do it now is fine with me.
Yeah. So you mentioned it now. I've got to jump in and say, this is one of those horrible situations that really annoys me, because it's damned if they do and damned if they don't. If they'd have left the bugs in Windows 10, and not that there's many, but if they'd said we're only going to fix this once a month, there'd have been outcry with anybody with any issue. But because they decided to fix them, people have to outcry and go, "Oh, too many updates."
Yeah. I don't mind the updates. It's fine. I mean, if you set a new Windows 7 machine up, it'll take you 2 days to get the updates up and running.
Yes, the cumulative updates. This is much better.
Yeah. So it's non-issue.
And it's not Windows as a service when they patch it.
No, it's not.
Otherwise, Windows 95. Well, what was it? Windows 98 was the first one with Windows Update. No. Otherwise, we've had Windows as a service for years. It's not Windows as a service.
Okay. Not until we get some new features.
Absolutely. Threshold 2, there you go.
Yeah. 100%. It's gone from 1 to 100% instantly.
There you go. Yeah, that's the power of this. Mention the book and amazing. It has healing properties. Right, so that's a bit all the time I've got for. I always include links for some other stuff in as well. I reviewed a new Alcatel smartwatch as well, which is a bit similar price to, and a bit cheaper actually. So £99. It's not Android Wear or anything like that, but it is quite a nice little watch. So have a look at that, and I'll include some of the links as well. No show next week. On holiday next week, so no show at all next week. So we'll be back the week after, which I think is I think it went to September, aren't we? The first week of September.
Yeah, when I'll be in IFA, so I might be live in Berlin.
So you may be in Berlin. I'll be here. Jason, hopefully you'll be there.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I wonder if we'll have new mobile builds to talk
Yes,
about.
I could do that. Any new builds? I'm going to ask the team if they can hold off new builds from Thursday for another week, and then I can have some new builds when I come back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see? Sorry, I know you were trying to finish up, but did you see Gable's tweet to Paul Thurrott?
No, I didn't.
He basically said to him, "Oh, you want to play? Where's that button?"
I like that.
That was very funny.
Yeah, very funny. So hopefully we won't have any next week. Otherwise, well, I'll be taking all my kit on holiday with me, just not to tell my wife. So you'll see after we've posted under a pseudonym. so we'll see you back a week on Tuesday in the chat room, but we'll be back on the podcast on our Thursdays. You can follow me at Iris Dixon on Twitter. And where can we find you, Jason?
You can find me at Database Chase.
And Gary, where can we find you?
I'm at Gary W. May on Twitter, and Fascinating Tech Magazine might be back shortly. Haven't sorted out some of our hosting issues, so that should be good.
Right, well, we'll look out for that, and hopefully have some new builds, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.
Yeah. See you. Bye bye.
Dear.
Excellent stuff. I enjoyed that.